Kate M. Bosley,
Here.
Thomas F. Powers.
Here.
Thank you very much. So Counselor Giacomo is requesting permission to participate remotely, but did not give the 24-hour notice, so this would require a suspension of the rules. So I guess we would I'd look to Counselor Powers for a motion, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to suspend Section 4 of the Rules of Order to allow Counselor Giacomo to attend the meeting remotely.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Counselor Powers, second by Counselor Bosley. Any discussion on this before we vote on suspending the rules? Yeah, Counselor Roberts.
Do we know what the reasoning is, Your Honor?
I understand it's COVID-19.
Really?
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake.
Yes.
Counselor Johnson.
Yes.
Counselor Filio.
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Roberts.
Yes.
Counselor Umarad.
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne.
Yes.
And Counselor Workman.
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald.
Yes.
Counselor Bosley.
Yes.
And Counselor Powers.
Yes.
And it is unanimous. So the rules are suspended. I'd ask that Counselor Giacomo, if he's available, please state your name, the reason for your remote participation, and whether or not anyone is in the room with you.
Thank you, Council, and I do apologize for the inconvenience of having to suspend rules. I am located at 150 Congress Street, and there is no one present in the room with me.
Okay. And the reason for your absence is
Reason for absence is illness. I'm at the end, but not quite good enough to want to be in a room with you guys and potentially risk you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Oh, thank you, Counselor. All right. Counselor Jones, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Counselor Jones. So we have a few birthdays to announce. Counselor Umarad's birthday is on October 8th, so congratulations. A few days later, Counselor Bosley's birthday, October 11th. And finally, Counselor Johnson had a birthday on October 15th. Thank you. Yeah, happy birthday. There you go. So I want to announce the City Council at the City Clerk's office is looking for volunteers to assist as greeters for the November 8th election in Ward 1. So if you know anybody or you're able to do it yourself, please do get in touch with her. You don't need to be a registered voter in Ward 1 to serve in that role. So please, let's help Patty find somebody to do that. And that brings us to our minutes of the previous meeting. I'd be looking for a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Bosley, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to accept the minutes from the October 6, 2022 regular meeting as printed.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Bosley. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo.
Yes.
Counselor Filio.
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Roberts.
Yes.
And Counselor Umarad.
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne.
Yes.
And Counselor Workman.
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald.
Yeah.
Counselor Bosley.
Yes.
And Counselor Powers.
Yes.
And that is unanimous. Parks and Rec Director Andy Bohannon, will you please join me up here at the front? So whereas Halloween trick-or-treating is a fun custom observed by many residents of the city of Keene, and whereas past practice has indicated that parents generally favor late afternoon and early evening hours for trick-or-treating outings, both permitting greater visibility and limiting participation to younger children for whom observance was originally intended. That's a nice, nice way to put it. And whereas accidents are an ever-present possibility while the young children are visiting door to door in their immediate neighborhoods, displaying their customs and requesting treats. Now, therefore, I, George S. Hansel, Mayor of the City of Keene, do hereby proclaim Monday, October 31st, shall be known as Trick or Treat Day in Keene, and I ask both children and parents to cooperate in limiting trick or treat time to the period between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. I also ask that parents or other responsible adults accompany young children. I further request that householders indicate their willingness to welcome trick-or-treaters by lighting a porch or exterior light, and that the youngsters call only on homes that are lighted. Finally, I encourage the cooperation of citizens young and old to make this a happy and safe occasion for all Keene children. Trick or treat. In witness whereof, I herein do set my hand in the official seal of the City of Keene this 20th day of October, 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have anything to say about this year's trick-or-treating?
Other than trick or treat.
There you go. Thank you, Andy. Back up again. I'd ask our retired Chief Russo to please join me up here at the front. Good to see you. So be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Keene that whereas Steve Russo began his career with the Keene Police Department on the 28th of June, 1999 as a probationary police officer and succeeded to police officer on the 28th of June, 2000, was promoted to former police corporal level on the 12th of September, 2004 and elevated to police lieutenant on the 31st of May, 2009, was raised to police captain on the 17th of January 2010 and became acting police chief on the 10th of March 2017, and was appointed police chief of the City of Keene on the 6th of April 2017. And whereas he's played a critical role in setting a course through our evolving society with his leadership, jack of all trades expertise, excellent initiative, ability to juggle multiple demands, solution-focused approaches, and positive public interactions, working to get everyone going in the same direction. And whereas he has advanced the department's vision to provide community-based law enforcement services by getting officers out in the public eye as much as possible and dealing with people in favorable environments through a variety of programs and services to continue our enhanced quality of life and our low overall crime rate. And whereas his unwavering efforts to ensure the department's policies, procedures, and training remain in line with the industry's best practices led to renewal status from the Commission on the Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies, or CALEA, among the few in New Hampshire to achieve this standard. And whereas focused on continual department development, recently including planning to implement and gain grant funding for body-worn cameras, he worked diligently to meet the recommendations of the Commission on Law Enforcement Accountability, Community, and Transparency, established in New Hampshire in 2020, and he was appointed to the New Hampshire Police Standards and Training Council in 2021. And whereas having supervised the Field Training Officer Program, he's focused on continual improvement in the department's already stringent recruiting efforts and helped develop strategies to obtain a more diversified pool of candidates to better reflect our evolving community. And whereas a big picture thinker, he's carried out his roles in a manner consistent with his commitment to Keene, always responsive to changing needs and trusting in and advocating for his smart, knowledgeable, and skilled officers so they can continue their excellent track record of solving crimes, yet knowing that we're not going to arrest our way out of the problem. And whereas Steve retired from the City of Keene on the 31st of August 2022 with over 23 years of dedicated and honorable service. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Keene hereby extends its sincere thanks to Stephen Russo and wishes him the very best through all of his retirement years. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution properly engrossed be presented to Steve in appreciation for his many years of service to the residents of Keene and the Monadnock region.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I can just say, before I give you the microphone, over the last couple of years, obviously the city's been through a lot between COVID and just things going on with policing and a lot of community activity. And I've gotten to work with Steve probably more than most mayors would traditionally work with the police chief. And I can say, honestly, it's been a pleasure. Everything on that resolution is absolutely true. And you've been one of the really shining stars, people that I put up there and highlight as why we're such a lucky city and to have such great professionals. So thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. And I'm not going to use this because
All right, so now I'd ask for the city manager to give us some introductory remarks on the fire prevention program, and then I believe the fire chief is going to give us some remarks too.
Yeah, mine are very few. I'm just going to introduce. So I've asked the fire chief to provide an update to the council this evening regarding our fire inspections program, and at the same time introduce our 2 new fire prevention officers, and some of you got a chance to meet them at the dinner recently at the firehouse. Stephen Dumont and Megan Mankey, do I say that right? Mankey. Both with outstanding qualifications. The chief has made significant progress with our fire inspection program, and we'll talk a little bit more about that tonight. And with Steve and Megan on board, we have a solid team to continue that progress. So with that, I'll turn it over to the chief.
Thank you. So as advertised, I've been asked to introduce our new fire inspectors and also give a brief update on the current status of our fire prevention posture. So to my right is Captain Stephen Dumont. Captain Dumont previously served as the Assistant State Fire Marshal for the state of Vermont. He has earned a great many professional certifications, including Fire Inspector 2, Certified Plans Examiner, Fire Arson Investigator, Fire Explosion Investigator, and Juvenile Fire Setter Intervention Specialist. During his years of service for Vermont, he held collateral duties with the Vermont Hazmat Response Team and the Vermont Urban Search and Rescue Team. Stephen brings decades of invaluable experience in the application of NFPA and IBC codes, in plan review, inspections, and enforcement. Captain Dumont has a long record of success in working with members of the public to bring buildings into proper code compliance. That was a common theme throughout his entire interview process, his experience and his ability to interact with the citizens in a positive manner and help them achieve fire code compliance. And his experience and education and skill sets are greatly welcomed. To my left, we have Lieutenant Megan Mankey. She formerly served the town of Newington in Connecticut as both the Director of Emergency Management and as a captain of the Fire Prevention Bureau. Megan earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology from the University of St. Joseph's with concentrations in criminal justice and mental health, and has a Master's of Science in Applied Psychology from Sacred Heart University. Additionally, just like Stephen, she has earned many certifications, including Fire Inspector 2, Fire Investigator, Plans Review, Fire Safety Educator, and Youth Fire Setter Intervention Specialist. Lieutenant Mankey has put her formal education and fire prevention skills to great use. In her previous job, she spearheaded a statewide effort to understand, and respond to hoarding. She assisted state agencies in outlining policies, resources, and duties regarding enforcement, mitigation, and response to hoarding cases. Additionally, she led the effort to develop a comprehensive case management program to address and resolve hoarding-related violations and hazards. And Megan's education and endless energy in her product success in managing complex issues will be of great value to our departments. There's been a noticeable difference in the firehouse in the few weeks they've been with us. It's professionally joyful to watch them collaborate and work through getting themselves established in their jobs. And the office is often full of laughter and great work. So it's deeply appreciated. And to that end, I would like to thank the mayor, the council, the city manager, and the firefighters, the union local, for their support in realigning our department structure to achieve 2 fire inspection positions. It's very much needed, and in a job market that is very difficult to get good help, we lucked out ×2, and we're very grateful for that. As a brief update for our current fire prevention posture, I thought it'd be a good place to start with just a brief overview of what fire code actually is. We get all sorts of different questions from citizens and building owners about why we're involved in this or what our actual role is. So I thought a few sentences on that might be a good place to start. So at its core, the purpose of fire code is to provide reasonable protection of life and property from the hazards of fire. So fire code applies to all persons constructing, reconstructing, modifying, and maintaining or operating any structure. All owners or occupants of the existing and new construction structures must comply with the requirements set forth in the state fire code as adopted and amended. And importantly, and we get this one all the time, pre-existing occupied buildings are not exempted from adopted fire code. With the fire department, the duties related to fire code enforcement is a functional area that involves complex and detailed activities that demand close ties with other local government agencies. This is especially true with our relationship between the building and fire officials. Code enforcement begins with code application during review of plans and specifications to assure compliance with fire safety features of the building and fire prevention codes. Once occupancy is formally established, fire code continues to apply to all future additions, alterations, remodeling, or changes to the use of that structure. By RSA, the fire department is required to inspect all assemblies in schools on an annual basis. And additionally, RSA 154 authorizes the fire department to inspect all buildings and structures upon observation or complaint of fire code violations. Some months ago, we undertook a comprehensive review of our fire prevention program processes. Our goal was to identify weaknesses and find meaningful, cost-effective solutions to improve how fire programs operate. Our assessments found several areas of weakness. Primarily, our legacy fire code management software was functionally obsolete and did not allow for an accurate understanding of active fire code violations. Our fire code violation letter that we handed people for their fire codes did not clearly explain the cited code violations, nor did it properly describe the established legal processes for appeals. Our permitting process was broadly ineffective, confusing, and beyond cumbersome for our customers. And very importantly, the fire department was functionally disconnected from the community development department. The lack of synergy between fire and community development led to poor customer service for fire department customers, lack of coordination of inspection services, and in some cases, incomplete inspections. In response to those identified problems, we took the following actions. With help of a legal department, we reviewed and amended our fire code violation letter and associated processes, including proper notice of local appeals and state variance processes. Legal also provided a very well-written understanding of the fire department and health department's authority to order a building vacated due to imminent danger of the occupants. That was an area of clarity that we needed, and they're very helpful in providing that for us. Our fire code violation letter was also enhanced to include colored pictures of violations that clearly articulated corrective actions. And additionally, we strive to meet with each person at the time of the distribution of the fire prevention letter. This very important interaction was a great benefit. It allows us to advocate for the building owner as well. In several cases, the owners had paid for a service, such as a hood cleaning or sprinkler system maintenance, and the vendor did not complete the work properly. In such instances, we were able to work with the vendor to complete the work correctly. In other cases where appropriate, we've been able to assist building owners with applying for fire code variances to the state. That's a pretty complex process, and with the help of the State Fire Marshal's Office, about 4 or 5 times now, we've spent quite a bit of time with different building owners looking at their compliance issues, and we're able to advocate and successfully allow them to apply for a variance to the state. For both inspections and permitting, the fire department is nearly fully integrated with the iWork software program that community development has been using for several years. Using this unifying platform will serve to enhance interdepartmental service coordination and greatly improve customer service. Very importantly, the program gives us the ability to achieve a composite picture of all activities on any given parcel address and allows us to accurately track and achieve real-time situational awareness of all code violations, permit statuses, and other pending actions. The achievement of that software program and our excellent relationship with the people from the Community Development Department is great, and we're looking forward to it getting better. We have partially implemented the software integration process and can continue to refine workflow rules prior to full implementation. We're very hopeful to be fully functional within the next few weeks, and the achievement of that software program also allows for online permitting, unified permitting, and it keeps contractors from moving from one place to the firehouse and then all over the town. That was a common complaint from our contractors, and when we achieve our software program here, that's going to be of great utility. I want to stress that the fire department's operational doctrine is to achieve voluntary compliance, and that's really important with reported and discovered code violations. And furthermore, we recognize that the key to that is education. So as soon as you walk into an address in uniform with a letter in our hands, people get all upset and nervous. 99.9% of the time, we can achieve voluntary compliance. And again, we've been in a position to advocate for them as well. And that's nice. The community has been very warm and accepting of our renewed presence in the community. And again, the vast majority of our interactions have been overwhelmingly positive. In a few instances, the voluntary compliance can't be achieved. I also feel we're well positioned to implement the legal processes necessary to compel compliance. Before concluding, just an important message I wanted to share while I'm up here. Is with winter approaching and historically high energy prices, the fire department is greatly concerned with the safety of our citizens during this heating season. The most recent national fire death data supports this concern. The last data from last year says 76% of all civilian fire deaths occur in single or multifamily homes. So 76% of all civilian fire deaths are in single or multifamily homes. And of those civilian fire deaths, 75% of those are in homes that lack proper smoke detection, right? And smoke detection has been around a long time, and it's very inexpensive. And the fact that 75% of those civilian fire deaths can be prevented by something as simple as a smoke detector is heartbreaking. Today's homes burn faster and hotter than they used to. It's a function of modern furniture and all the plastics in homes. In a typical home fire, you may have as little as 2 minutes to get out from the time the smoke alarm sounds. Dramatically changed over the years. In order to survive, occupants need early notification and proper egress to escape. So it's about notification and egress. On a daily basis, the department observes multifamily houses that lack proper detection and have impeded egress and other serious violations. These violations are potentiated by the presence of alternate heating methods such as space heaters and cooking stoves. And again, we're very worried about this upcoming heating season. In such instances, we provide temporary detection, remove debris, or otherwise clear egress corridors, and then we contact the building owner to repair those in a timely manner. And I say that to say this: I'm aware that some of these building owners have complained to various members of the council and have occasionally appeared in local media outlets with similar complaints. And it's important for me to sit here and assure you that our fire code violation process is very fair. It's consistently applied without prejudice, and most importantly, it's very much needed. That concludes my comments.
Thanks, Chief. So the bottom line, we've staffed up the department. We've got some new faces, new software, better coordination with some of the other departments. You're going to have probably more interaction with the building owners, and this is important for the council because building owners and people out there running businesses are going to get some new interactions and new people in front of them, and so they're probably going to reach out to you with questions. And they have. I know they have. But this is an important initiative. The responsibility of the city is to enforce these fire codes, and ultimately it's about safety and making sure that everybody is safe in the community. So thank you, Chief. Appreciate it, and welcome to our inspection team. All right. Brings us to our next item on our regular agenda. We have a nomination.
This evening, the mayor is nominating Jennifer Sayre to serve on the Congregate Care and Social Services Licensing Board. This would be for a term to expire December 31, 2023.
This will be tabled to our next regular meeting. We have a communication, number 1.
Our only communication this evening is from Aaron Lipsky, former Mayor Lipsky. He's requesting the removal of a tree located in front of his house at 64 Hastings Avenue.
And this will be referred to the Municipal Services, Facilities, and Infrastructure Committee. Committee reports, number 1.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee report relative to the tree lighting ceremony. On a roll call vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends that the Keene Kiwanis Club be granted permission to use downtown city rights-of-way on Friday, November 25th for the tree lighting festival from 5 to 8 p.m., conditional upon the signing of a revocable license and identification agreement, submittal of a certificate of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million listing the city of Keene as an additional insured, and that the petitioner complies with any recommendations of staff. In addition, the petitioner is granted permission to erect a holiday tree on the main Marlboro-Winchester Street roundabout. Petitioner agrees to absorb the cost of any city services over and above any amount of city funding allocated in the FY23 community events budget. Payment shall be made within 30 days of invoicing.
We're looking for a motion from Councilor Bosley, a second by Councilor Jones, please.
I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Bosley, seconded by Councilor Jones. Councilor Bosley.
Thank you, Your Honor. So this is our annual request by the Keene Kiwanis Club for the tree lighting ceremony. This event is a wonderful event that brings a lot of kids out every year. It's going to be held on November 25th. It usually consists of a reading by Mrs. Claus and then a grand entrance by Santa with the help of our fire department. So it's really exciting, and this was a unanimous vote by PLD, and we hope you guys will all support it too.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councillor Lake?
Yes.
Councillor Johnson?
Yes.
And Councillor Giacomo?
Yes.
Councillor Filio?
Yes.
Councillor Williams?
Yes.
Councillor Jones?
Yes.
Councillor Roberts?
Yes.
Councillor Omerod?
Yes.
Councillor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Councillor Workman?
Yes.
Councillor Greenwald?
Yes.
Councillor Bosley?
Yes.
Councillor Powers?
Yes.
That is unanimous. Number 2.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee report relative to permission to run snowmobiles on the city right-of-way. On a roll call vote, 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends the Keene Snow Riders be granted permission to use the following locations on city property for a snowmobile trail: the right-of-way along the north side of Criff Road from Criff Court to Winchester Street, the crossing of Winchester Street at Criff Road, the crossing of Production Avenue approximately 200 plus or minus feet south of New Hampshire Route 9, as well as access to the Class 6 portion of the old Gilsum Road, starting approximately 1 mile from the Gilsum town line and going north, for the following purpose: for a snowmobile trail, and under the following conditions. Said use shall commence on December 15th, expire on March 30th, 2023, subject to the following: the signing of a revocable license and identification agreement, submittal of a certificate of insurance, amount of $1 million, naming City of Keene as an additional insured. In addition, Keene Snow Riders will be responsible, including costs for the installation and maintenance of all signage and markings, which will be in accordance with snowmobile trail standards published by the New Hampshire Department of Business and Economic Affairs. All signage and markings installed shall be removed from the city right-of-way and city property when there's no longer any snow cover, No structures, including buildings, shelters, lights, displays, walls, shall be permitted within the city right-of-way or on city property. No parking of motor vehicles or trailers, and no catering services activities of any kind shall be permitted within the city right-of-way or on city property. Grooming shall not extend outside the right-of-way of Cliff Road. Snow windows shall be groomed to provide adequate sight distances. Gentle sloping approach at all road and driveway intersections. No part of a city street, meaning the paved surfaces, may be used by off-highway recreational vehicles or their operators for any purpose other than direct crossing, and that Keene Snow Riders, Inc. shall be responsible for the repair of any damage, including cost, and of the city right-of-way, and the property shall only be used when there's snow cover.
All right, I'm looking to Counselor Bosley for a motion. Counselor Jones for a second, please.
I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Jones. Counselor Bosley.
Thank you again. So a lot of what I would say tonight is actually in that motion. There's not a whole lot to add. This is an annual request. We hear from these folks every year, and we discussed with city staff that there have not been any incidences that have brought any concern to us, and we voted unanimously to move this forward.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Omerod?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
And Counselor Powers?
Yes.
That's unanimous. Number 3.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee report relative to a retaining wall on the Woodbury and Washington Street intersection. On a roll call vote, 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends the authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to execute a memorandum of understanding between the city and the Community College System of New Hampshire with respect to the retaining wall abutting the property owned by the community college and adjacent to Woodbury Street, and further to authorize the manager to do all things necessary to negotiate and to execute permanent cross easements for the construction and future maintenance of the wall by the community college and improvements to Woodbury Street by the city of Keene.
Looking to Counselor Bosley for a motion. Counselor Jones for a second, please.
I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Jones. Counselor Bosley.
Thank you, Your Honor. So this one was a kind of an interesting conversation. I don't know if anyone has had a chance to drive by this wall, but there was some historic evidence dug up that showed that this wall was constructed when the Roosevelt School was built. So there was conversation between the city staff and the school that showed that the school has ownership of the wall. However, the city does have interest in and ownership of the top of the wall. So on the top of this wall, there's a guardrail and a sidewalk. And as the wall requires repair, that sidewalk and guardrail are going to require repair. So this memorandum of understanding is to spell out whose responsibilities are whose. The school system will be responsible for the wall itself, and the city will be responsible only for the sidewalk and guardrail on top. I did have some concern about the condition of the wall and how long it can stay there before it needs repair. And believe it or not, the engineering reports that were submitted to us do show that it is currently in good condition, even though it does have some aesthetic issues. So it could be a while before we see any changes there, but we do want to get this in place. The committee voted unanimously to have the city manager negotiate this.
Thank you. Any discussion? Counselor Jones?
Thank you, Your Honor. I did ask a question at the committee, because this property is for sale, if it goes with the ownership, and the answer from staff is yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
I understand the idea of negotiating and discussing. I'd like to know what the money is. What is it going to cost the citizens of Keene to repair this so the property can be sold? Will we hear about that prior to the execution?
City manager?
So we're not repairing the wall. We have, in our conversations, they did attempt to get us to agree to take ownership of the wall, and we did not take ownership of the wall in our conversation. So there's nothing from the taxpayers for that. The guardrail will likely no longer be on the wall. It will be next to the wall. The engineering department will look at the proper placement for the guardrail, and the sidewalk is ours. The issue was the wall and guardrail had been combined all these years, and the location of it goes back and forth between city right-of-way and private property. So we need to have the cross easements so that we can do the work on the guardrail and on the sidewalk, and they need cross easements so they can do the work on the wall.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Omerod?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that's unanimous. City Manager.
Thank you, Your Honor. A few updates for you this evening, and I have several updates related to the Human Services Department. This year, we updated our Memorandum of Understanding with Southwestern Community Services, and for the first time, entered into a MOU with 100 Nights. The changes in the MOU creates a stronger connection between the city and the shelters, ensuring that when any Keene resident receives shelter from one of these organizations, that they also connect with the city's Human Services Department. During COVID, the shelters were given funding from the state and federal programs to place people in local hotels. It wasn't until much of these funds began to run out that we became more actively involved. It's important to begin case management right away. These MOUs help to ensure we are in the loop early. The other big change is in determining residency. Shelters are to make reasonable effort to determine the current or former residency of individuals being served, and that's articulated in this MOU. Residency doesn't impact services received, but it does allow us to go back to the community the individual is from and engage them in providing the needed support for this individual. We included a definition of residency and included the document recently put out by the Welfare Administrators Association defining residency and responsibilities of communities. And this is a big step forward and a step in the right direction, as if we're going to address these issues of homelessness and the needs of these residents, we need everyone to be part of the solution. The other update is related to staffing in the office. In March, as part of the public discussion around homelessness in the community, the need for outreach was discussed. Southwestern Community Services has an outreach worker, but in an effort to be a bigger part of the solution for street homelessness, I have amended the job description for an open part-time position in Human Services Office to include outreach responsibilities. This will be advertised, if not by tomorrow, by early next week. If we are successful, I will be looking to hard code that new title and associated job description into the salary ordinance. We are also in the process of joining the state's New Hampshire Homeless Information System, or HMIS. We will be the first municipality in the state to begin utilizing this system. It will help us better track assessments and referrals. It illuminates duplicate intakes, reduces the amount of time clients spend answering questions, reduces the amount of time a client has to tell their story, and provides faster access to the coordinated system, and multiple services can be coordinated. So we'll all be communicating on the same system. Other related updates. I had a meeting today with the superintendent of jails to discuss what happens when they release people who have nowhere to go or no one to pick them up. They release them on Gilboa Ave in front of the bus station, regardless of where the community they are coming from. So today we brainstormed some potential ways to address this. And I have a bigger meeting scheduled in the next few weeks, including our police chief and I'm asking the sheriff's office to participate as well, because I would like to brainstorm some potential better solutions to that. I also would like to brainstorm some potential better solutions to the people that they identify as homeless, and making sure that we're at least attempting to make a connection to services before they are released. So I will update you on that as that effort moves forward. Lastly, related to this topic, I was asked to participate in a panel presentation on October 24th in Concord, so next Tuesday. The New Hampshire Coalition to End Homelessness, the Council on Housing Stability, and CDFA are hosting a Housing Stability Solutions Summit to engage with stakeholders from across the state to learn about New Hampshire communities with unique responses to homelessness trends. I'm not sure we have a unique response to homelessness trends, but they asked me to talk about the service mapping initiatives that we recently completed and some of the changes that have come about as a result of that. I'll give you just one example. This process of service mapping that I've talked to you about before takes a look at all of our different social service agencies, the services they provide, the services we provide, and what are the gaps or overlaps, and how can we better make that system more efficient? And how can we remove some of the barriers to accessing some of these services? So as part of that effort, we identified that we needed to have a better way to case manage the street homeless, the people who, for whatever reason, are not entering the shelters, and a better way to track what's happening with those individuals. And so as a result of that, we instituted joint case conferencing with the shelters, talking about the individual, the person, not numbers and needs, but actually case conferencing for the person. And so that's been a really helpful change, and we've had a number of other changes that we've made to the system, and it's just the beginning. And so when they asked me this, request to be part of their panel, I said, well, I don't have anything earth-shattering to share, but we're working on it. And I think that that's the important part, that we're working on it. We're looking to improve the systems and how we operate. I also have an update for you related to some conversations with Keene State College. In 2018, the city and Keene State College created an agreement to share 50-50 the cost of upgrading a Lower Main Street crosswalk. Most of you will remember that. This was in response to a safety concern. Funds for the improvements were in our capital plan, but they were several years out, and in an effort to make the improvements sooner, at the request of the college, we were able to negotiate a 50-50 cost-sharing agreement. So it was a project in our capital plan, but it was out further. They were willing to help us fund it if we moved it up sooner. So we did successfully do that. Back in 2018, we negotiated this agreement, brought it forward to the council, and did the project. And if you go down Lower Main Street now, you'll see the flashing beacons, and that was part of that improvement. We recently met with Melinda Treadwell to discuss another crosswalk concern on Lower Main Street. Several months ago, a pedestrian was hit on the crosswalk just beyond the roundabout. So not the one that's closest to the roundabout. So crosswalks that are designed close to the roundabout, that is part of the overall roundabout design, but this one's just beyond that. Public Works reviewed the crosswalk and discussed their recommended improvements, which includes removing that next crosswalk and adding the same pedestrian signalized lights at the crosswalk closest to the roundabout. The college has agreed again to share these upgrade costs with the city. Public Works is working on a quote, and once we have that, we will be going through the council process requesting your authority to execute another agreement with the college to share these expenses. And I have one more update. Our city engineer, Don Lucier, asked me to share with you this evening. The Lower Winchester Street Project Steering Committee will host the second of 2 planned listening sessions. So it's on Tuesday, October 25th. The meeting will begin at 6 p.m. at the Keene Public Library in Cohen Hall. The first such meeting was held earlier this week on the 18th in the town of Swansea. More than 30 individuals attended and provided their insights to the project engineering team. The city engineer, Don Lucier, has stated that it would be a source of great personal shame if Keene doesn't turn out at least twice the number. And rumor has it that he will be bringing first cider and cookies. So let's see what we can do to get people to attend, and that's it for me tonight.
Great, thank you. I just push back on one thing you said, that Keene, you know, I think, I want to recognize Elizabeth, because over the last couple of years, she's personally been doing a lot, I mean, more than any other city manager, certainly in the state, on homelessness and working to coordinate these social service agencies. And I mean, largely you've done it at your own initiative. And so I think you should be very proud of that. I think you're the perfect person to be a panelist there, because you are leading on the state level in this area. So
Thank you.
good job. Brings us to city officer and department reports. And I'd recognize Councilor Powers. We need to suspend the rules to act on these next three items.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to suspend Section 26 of the Rules of Order to allow action upon the next three time-sensitive grant items.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Councilor Powers, you got anything else on this?
No, not for that.
Okay. Any questions or comments on suspending the rules? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Omorad?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
It's unanimous, which brings us to number one.
First recommendation, this is actually contained in a memorandum from the Deputy Fire Chief relative to the FY 2022 Homeland Security Grant Award for the Wide Area Air Monitoring System. Move that the City Council allow action on the request to authorize the city manager to do all things necessary to accept and expend $131,571 awarded under the FY 2022 Homeland Security Grant for the Wide Area Air Monitoring System.
Councilor Powers for motion, Councilor Bosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Councilor Powers.
You want me to explain them?
You can explain just all three if you want, and
Oh, all right. Great.
go ahead.
This one is, a sizable grant, $131,000. It's for some serious equipment that the city needs to continue to do the response protocols that they currently have. And I'm heartened to see that the feds have splashed some money over to the state agencies to give back to the communities to continue these programs. Because a lot of these programs that are being done by all the public safety agencies were established with federal money, and then we bought the equipment, did the training, and they went away. So this is a great step forward that is starting to flow the money back to the local community. So this is to maintain and improve the equipment that's being used on a daily basis for this particular program.
Thank you, and we do have three items, so we'll have to vote on them individually, but are there any questions or comments on that first one? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Omorad?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that's unanimous, so we have the second one, number two.
Again, through the Deputy Fire Chief, this one dealing with the 2020 Homeland Security Grant Program to purchase critical infrastructure, water-related catastrophe equipment. Move that the City Council allow action on the request to authorize the city manager to do all things necessary to accept and expend $12,500 awarded under the 2020 Homeland Security Grant Program to purchase critical infrastructure, water-related catastrophe equipment.
Councilor Powers for a motion, Councilor Bosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Councilor Powers, you got anything on this one?
Once again, it's a similar award of $12,500, so it's a great program. Appreciate your support.
Thank you. Councilor Jones?
Can I just ask, what is water-related catastrophe equipment? Is that like pumps and stuff? I guess it could be on.
Maybe
Very
the
general.
fire chief can give us some detail.
The grant specifically designated towards swift water rescue. So the state of New Hampshire has 4 swift water teams. We're one of them. I think it's 4. So that grant is a subset of the hazmat money, and it's specifically designated for swift water rescue.
While we have you up here, Chief, are there any other points you want to highlight about these grants?
A few. First, about the hazmat grant, I appreciate Councilor Powers' comments. Very true. When we get grants, years later, it becomes difficult to maintain them and replace them. So this is a positive sign that we're getting some of this equipment. And I just want to state that on top of Keene having the swift water responsibilities for this portion of the state, for the 2 hazardous materials grants, Keene provides hazardous materials technician level response for 36 towns. And I think we're going to pick up 1 more. And we can't do that without this grant funding. And we're at the point now with our grants that there's great synergy between our grants. So the 3rd grant we're going to speak on in a moment for $75,000. We actually used another grant that we're going through right now with a complete overview of our hazmat team. And we were very careful with that $75,000, which is the 3rd grant we're going to read. We picked up some equipment that gets new capacity. We also kept a very good eye and were very successful for replacing some equipment that needed replacement, and I'm buying a bunch of boring things like software upgrades and a bunch of maintenance equipment to take a lot of pressure off of our normal operating budget. So we're grateful for the money, and we've been very, very careful in how we spend it and always thinking about the long-term effects on our operational budget in the CIP as well.
All right, thanks, Chief. Any questions for the Chief on these? No. All right, thank you. Any further comments or questions on accepting the 2nd grant? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Omerod?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
And Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that's unanimous, which brings us to our 3rd grant award.
Again, through the Deputy Fire Chief, this one dealing with the 2022 Homeland Security Grant Program Award for Hazmat. Move that the City Council allow action on the request to authorize the city manager to do all things necessary to accept and expend $75,000 awarded under the State Homeland Security Program portion of the 2022 Homeland Security Grant Program for the purchase of eligible equipment.
Council Powers for a motion, Council Bosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second?
And we have a motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Bosley. Council Powers.
I think we covered it all.
All righty. Any other further comments or questions on this item? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Ormerod?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne? Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald? Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
That's unanimous, which brings us to Board or Commission reports, number 1.
We have a memorandum from the Community Development Department. They are submitting a email resignation from Katie Sutherland, who is resigning as she has moved out of town. And the 2 boards, one is sort of combined. The title is a little misleading. She's a member of the Building Board of Appeal as well as the Housing Standard Board of Appeal. So she's resigning from both of those boards.
Council Powers for a motion, Council Bosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to accept the resignation with regret and appreciation for her service.
Second?
We have a motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Bosley. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor, or will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Ormerod?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald? Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that is unanimous. Number 2.
This is a memorandum on behalf of the Joint Planning Board, Planning License and Development Committee relative to Ordinance O 2022-09. At the workshop last week, they made an amendment to the ordinance, and it has now created a B version. And the motion before you is, actually, the request before you is to have the mayor set a public hearing on this ordinance.
And I will set the public hearing for Thursday, November 3rd at 7:05 PM. We have one item for more time. More time will be granted, which brings us to ordinances for a first reading. Number 1.
We have a memorandum from the city manager, and she is introducing an ordinance for first reading. It was mentioned in your previous more time report relative to the notification requirements for small cell wireless facility deployments.
This be referred to the Planning Licenses and Development Committee, and we have one resolution, number 1.
And a memorandum from our finance director treasurer. It's the annual introduction of the fiscal policy resolution.
And this will be referred to the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee. That brings to an end our regular business for tonight. I want to thank you all for your time and attention. We stand adjourned.
We have one ordinance from
Thank
the
you.
last meeting on that probationary firefighters.